case any of you are wondering what the hell I'm doing, I just put a little bit of black electrical tape on these wheel stud sockets. That way, when I'm going and I'm pulling off my wheels or my lugs, the socket doesn't stick to it. Huh, look at that, not enough tape. Just came out, fail. Let's try that again. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My buddy Mark said, you guys don't want to see me on camera. And Mark, no, I'm not like upset with the feedback. I'm listening to your feedback. So anyway, Mark said, hey, less seeing your ugly face on camera. Let's see more of you actually doing stuff, less talking. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm just putting some tape on my socket so it stays on there, and while I'm pulling out the lug nuts, it doesn't, you know, keep falling off. I thought I lost one over there. We'll have to check. All right, here's another, you wouldn't believe it if it wasn't on camera. So I came around here and I see that. I don't know if you can see that. Let me get a light. Nice oil spot on my floor, directly under my catch can. Gee, I wonder if it's catching anything. I bet you when I pull that off, it's gonna be full. All right, so we got a better look at what's going on here. We know this area is loose. You can see that whole tower is loose. I also believe these ball joints here are loose. So we're gonna tighten those up, see what happens. All right, well, somehow some idiot changed the camera to a time lapse here, so everything's going quick. I can't really slow it down, so I'm just gonna explain to you what I'm doing. There's two washers on the bottom, and basically it's not tight enough to the bottom. So what I think I need to do is clean the threads, pop the bolt through there again, and tighten it up, and that's going to tighten it just fine. I guess the thing I'm going to do a little bit different this time is I'm going to put some Loctite on there, and I'm talking about, you know, I'm probably going to regret this later, because bottom line, the entire front end needs to come apart again, kinda, when I go to drop the front end to install the steering rack, which I'll get into in another video. But bottom line, we're tightening it up. We're going to check it. It feels pretty good. And the only way to really truly check it is to put it back on the machine, tighten it up, and we're going to check it for play. And oh man, I'm trying to explain to you right now. See that wiggle? That's bad news. So that didn't fix it. Up here. So the whole concept of a Keller ball joint, they're strong, but they're adjustable. I sprayed this with brake cleaner. Right here you can see this is where you shoot grease in with a needle greaser, one of these. After you get everything kind of adjusted, I'm going to loosen it up, throw a little bit of grease in there. That's just how I do it, not a lot. Just, I mean, a squirt or two is going to take care of it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll get going and do that. Oh, gotta loosen it up a little bit. How you do that? I've already done this, obviously. This is normally tight. You're going to take this free, and then you can back this off. This is your adjustment right here. This is the adjustment screw. You want to bottom this out. But if you go too far, the ball joint can't move. So you got to kind of do this right, if you will, and everything works just fine. So you just want to, how I did it before is I tightened it, and then I backed it off a quarter turn, and then I tightened it up. But I had already greased this, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to back that off just a little bit. I'm going to grease that, and then I'll come back and tighten it up. And you're thinking to yourself, there's no way it can be filled with grease that quick. But I'll show you. There's not a whole lot of grease that needs to go in there. You can see as I'm tightening this, I don't know if you can see. Okay. I want you to look right there. As I'm tightening this, you're going to see grease start coming out a little bit. See it coming out? That's telling me I'm forcing the grease out of that. And that's a good thing. That's what you want. Okay, it just bottomed out hard. So that's telling me it's physically touching. So I'm going to back it off. I don't want to lose my spot. We're going to go right here. I'm going to go a quarter turn. That's good. I'm going to hold it there. And I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to tighten it up. That should be good. Now, there's another one on the bottom. So I did the easy one first. But we have another one down here that we have to do from the ground. But I think I'm going to do that one off camera. But we'll do that, and then we'll see how this tire feels. Hopefully it feels a little bit better. And yes, it would be nice if I had a lift, but I don't. So we're just going through the exact same procedure on the bottom. It's just a little bit, inconvenient because I'm working off jack stands rather than a lift. But it's just loosen up the retaining nut, loosen up the bolt, throw some grease in there, bottom out the bolt, tighten up the nut. It's literally, this is like 5 minutes, and I'm just speeding it up because it's, kind of boring seeing an old fat guy laying on the floor. It's kind of sad. I feel bad for him. All right, let's see. Oh, loose as shit. As I wiggle this wheel, there's absolutely no change. So I'm not seeing any play here or here where I thought I saw it. So I think what I'm seeing is maybe play in the wheel hub. But that's no bueno there. Okay, I took the front wheel back off the RZR. Yeah, I know I got greasy paw prints on my caliper, but I want you to try and look right here. This is without a tire on it. This is just my hand. There's play in this hub. I don't know if you can pick that up, but I can feel it. Which tells me I got to take this nut off, this castle nut, this pin. I don't know if the bearing is bad in here or if it just needs grease. I've had nothing but problems with these bearings, and I've been replacing them. I started with the Polaris heavy duty. I think I did 2 of these. I think this is my 3rd bearing on this wheel. But I think that has to do with, I had some problems last season with this, or excuse me, the season before that, with this whole front end, and I fixed all that, but I did not replace this bearing. And I don't know, I did grease it though, so I'm thinking this bearing is shot, but we'll see. Let me take this off, take this apart, see where we're at. All right. I removed the brake caliper. If you don't know how to do any of this stuff, don't be doing what I'm doing. Hire a mechanic. I'm not trying to be a smart ass, but that's pretty basic. That's 2 15mm bolts. Pop it off. Zip tie it so it's not dangling by this guy, because that's not good for him. Remove the cotter pin off the castle nut. And this should not be, you know, overly tight. I clean the grease off. Again, a little bit of brake cleaner. Throw those off to the side. Get your hub off. While it's off, look for any cracks. I can tell my wheel studs. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but you can see they're all off to one side. That just means I ride. There's some torque on there. That looks good. Wheel bearing itself feels pretty smooth. I'm just going to try and grease it real quick and see if that helps the situation. I get a lot of guys that, oh, you shouldn't have to do that. You grease too much. Because wheel bearings are a tricky thing. And I guess maybe I do, because it's not like I'm not having bad luck with wheel bearings on these machines. But anybody who's have suffered through our riding videos knows my wife loves to find a mud puddle and go in the mud. And I succumb to peer pressure all the time, I guess. All right, so this is a bearing greaser. It's specific to every bearing. The diameter here, as well as where these grease holes come out. But you literally stick it in there, put a grease on this, grease gun on this end, this Zerk, and grease is going to come out these holes, shoot into the bearing, which has a split in it. And that's going to lubricate or grease the bearing. So I'm going to try that, see how that works. If you don't have one of these, the brand doesn't matter. in my opinion anyway. It just really doesn't. All right, so the washer, it's crowned. You want this crown to the outside so that as this nut pushes against this, it flattens out the washer and puts more tension on your hub. Again, this is how I do it, not how you should do it, just how I do it. Okay, that's pretty tight. Now I'm going to back it off. See where we're at. Oh, right on the money. Take your cotter pin. You know what? This is how confident I am. I'm actually going to put the cotter pin on. Probably shouldn't be doing this, but I have more cotter pins. Yes, I know I have my brake to put on there yet. I'm not 100% confident the bearing was just needing some TLC, but we'll find out here in a second. I'm just going to put a couple of lug nuts on there and give her a feel. All right, let's see how this feels. 100% of the play is gone. So, I don't know if the castle nut was, I probably should have checked that before I pulled the pin. Castle nut seemed not loose, but awful easy to get off, I guess is how I'd put it. And I'm wondering if I didn't tighten it enough last time, or it stretched. I don't really know, don't really care. But I put a little bit of grease in there. This thing's good to go now. So as far as the driver's side, I just got to put the brake caliper back on and put my wheel back on. This side's done. I got to go through the exact same thing on the other side and make sure that's good. And once that's good, we'll be taking this shit apart anyway, because the whole front end basically needs to drop down so I can get to that steering box. But that'll be for another video. All right, there you have it. This side is done. The tie rod is tight, the hub's greased, ball joints are greased and adjusted, and this side's done. It's ready to go. It's ready for next year. All I need to do is run a little bit of brake clean on that rotor and get that thing cleaned up. Maybe I'll give that a shot right now. Do the other side. It doesn't have to be perfect. Everybody says it does, but I don't know. I don't think that's going to stop me from stopping. I think if anything, it'll lead to premature wear, and I'm not too concerned about it. Anyway, so now we need to go to the other side, and we're going to rinse and repeat. This side is better as far as loose. It's a little loose, but it's not too bad. All right, so we're going to rinse and repeat over on this side. You see Jack coming in there. He's saying hello. Sorry about the plumber's crack there. And again, wife came in also, wanted to check on what, the progress and whatnot. And we're just literally doing the exact same thing to the passenger side as we did the driver's side. We're going to quick take a look at this tie rod end, get it nice and tight. Had a little trouble getting it tight the first time. And I'm not quite sure, really what happened, because when I went and attacked it the second time, it tightened up just fine. I did put some Loctite on there again, and I don't think it's, I made sure I smacked it and said that's not going anywhere, so I think it's fine. Went and did the upper ball joint here, got it greased up and adjusted and tightened back up. Going to move down to the lower one here. Again, wish I had a lift, but I don't. But that's all right. We got it tightened up. Not a big deal. And the ball joints, again, didn't really feel loose. Turns out they weren't loose on the other side anyway. But last thing I'm doing here is just pulling out that cotter pin, and I'm going to pull off the castle nut, pull off the hub, clean it up, inspect it, and pump it full of grease. Once we get the hub full of grease, it's put the hub back on, put the castle nut back on, throw that pin in there, bend the tabs over on the pin, and we should be good to go. I'm just going to take some time and clean off my tools and put them away, and then we're going to throw that tire on and make sure it's good. All right, I don't know how much of that time lapse showed, but we're done. We're back together. I do want to point out I have a crack here. I had to clearance this last year, and I mean, you can see there's plenty of clearance. I have no idea how that cracked. It's not like I'm hard on my machine or anything. I probably should get a brand new one of those and replace that. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. It's fine, and if it breaks, it breaks. Anyway, this side is tight, clean. So now what I'm ready to do is drop this front suspension down and the rear diff down so I can get to my steering box. Again, I've got some play in there. I've had it since day one of the machine. I suspected it was there, but I was hoping all this other stuff and doing perfect maintenance would take care of it. It didn't. So we'll get that guy out, replace it with that guy, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Kind of a short one. I got to head on an early flight tomorrow morning for a few days at corporate. Got to get up pretty early, I think about 4 a.m. So I'm going to quick edit this up and get it up on the YouTube. Take care. Thanks for watching. Just wanted to say thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.